Lyon ended the LCS lock-in in style, finally claiming victory for the first time in North America. But for a team who in the preseason were floated by the community as a potential super team featuring two different LCS MVPs, one player stands out among them, and they weren't even supposed to be on the team. Niship Dhokla Doshi is a veteran top laner in the North American League of Legends scene. From humble and surprising beginnings, he climbed through the ranks of Tier 2 before finally getting a start on an LCS team, albeit starting in a way that would find itself mysteriously repeating throughout his career. The Dhokla of today is a player that's easy to cheer for, whose outgoing, candid nature on air has been embraced by fans, particularly as he's embraced sharing more of his life as a pro behind the scenes. But in order to appreciate where he is in 2026, I think it's worth going through how he got here, because few journeys in professional league are quite like this one. This is the story of one of NA's greatest underdogs, who is always there when you least expect him.
Slam that thing! You got another counter pick for Dhokla!
Dhokla began his playing career in the NACS after starting to play League 4 years earlier at the age of 15. After stints on several teams, the next stage of his career took him to an unexpected place, my hometown of Sydney, Australia, where he played for Sin Gaming alongside founding member and one of his future coaches, Juves. When Dhokla returned to the States after a reasonably successful split with the squad, he found himself under the Optic brand, who had recently acquired a slot in the LCS playing for Optic Academy. And it's here where Dhokla would get his first taste of what playing on the LCS stage was like, although he wasn't intended as his team's starter. During Week 6 of the 2018 Spring Split with Optic's main team struggling, Dhokla would be promoted to the LCS team to try and turn things around. While neither Optic or Optic Academy would see a significant difference in results, finishing 9th in both leagues by the end of the split. When summer rolled around, he began splitting stage games with the team's new top laner. But after 4 weeks of play left the team in last, Dhokla started every game after, and Optic rallied to a 4-game win streak with Dhokla recording wins on a swath of different champions, including Jace, Dr. Mundo, Fiora, Yorick, and Camille. Despite the team's resurgence, Optic still finished just short of playoff contention, and by the end of 2019, Dhokla's time on Optic had finished and he found himself back in the Academy system, trying to play back into form for a chance on the big stage once more. That chance would come in 2022, this time on CLG Academy, where Dhokla had played a phenomenal split and in a somewhat bemusing twist of fate, won the league's most valuable prospect award as a former LCS starter, something usually reserved for up-and-coming stars. Once again, he would replace a starting top laner and rally the team, reversing the CLG main team's fortunes from 8th place all the way to 4th, after being the only change made to the team's roster. This success would translate into one of Dhokla's most significant career moves, although at the time, no one could have predicted it. In 2023, after NRG acquired longtime org CLG and their spot in the LCS, the presumption was that a new org would be inclined to reset the roster. Instead, the opposite happened, as NRG retained the previous CLG squad, mid-season edition Dhokla included. The resulting season ended in one of the most electrifying runs in LCS history that, sadly, we do not have time to cover in this video. But suffice to say, after 2 more changes to their bot lane, the summer of 2023 belonged to NRG. While Dhokla had shifted from the carries of his early career to some of the game's more reliable top lane sponges like Cassante and Renekton, there were still flashes of his old champion pool present, including the 3-game run on Jax that saw Dhokla and the rest of NRG become LCS champions for the first time ever. This alone would have been a poignant enough storyline. A player that began his career in Australia, moved back to play in Tier 2 in North America, and then took every chance he was offered, even when the circumstances were not optimal. In most cases, Dhokla joining a team seemed to revitalize them, turning their fortunes around when they needed it most. Even when he left the LCS, he continued to grind until he made it back, somehow even better than he was before, until the stars aligned between his form and his team, and they did the impossible and hoisted the hardware. But this is not the end of Dhokla's story. In many ways, it's far from it. Despite the underdog success on NRG, the team could not replicate that magic in subsequent seasons, and NRG eventually dissolved their team and left the LCS once again. In the aftermath, Dhokla continued to compete once again in Tier 2, but eventually landed on 100 Thieves in a unique situation for 2 different reasons. For one, the team was set to leave the LCS at the end of the year, but for Dhokla it was the chance to showcase his skill once more to any interested parties, except that he was not a player on 100T, but a coach. A role that many professional players take to after their playing careers wind down, and for Dhokla, who had seemingly run out of options as an LCS starter, felt like a good fit after all the success he'd had in what was now a pretty long journey as a pro. Until the thing that keeps somehow happening to Dhokla happened again, and the team needed him to come in to try and right the ship after a poor start to the season. After only 26 days as a coach, Dhokla stepped in for 100T on the Rift as their top laner, and while the move was presumed to be temporary when it began, Dhokla never left 100 Thieves until they themselves left the league. going on a miracle run all the way towards 2025, where the young underdog squad would fail to do too much damage, but not before Dhokla at least solo killed BLG's top laner Bin, en route to an upset victory in the Swiss stage.
Nice pick onto the support as well.
Dogs still has TP. What the f is What the f
It's here where Dhokla also started to shift his focus from just being a player to being a representative for himself and the league. From being on the LCS broadcast, making daily vlogs from Worlds in China, Dhokla endeared himself to the league community at large, greeting fans each day with what would become a familiar refrain.
你好, Dhokla here. 你好, Dhokla here. 我来了, Zhuangguo.
So when the rosters for the 2026 LCS started to get unveiled, surely a player that had a track record of consistently improving teams, a former LCS champion, and now one of the more outgoing personalities in the scene was likely to land in one of the 8 starting spots for top lane, right? Well, as the LCS returned in 2026, one of its more tenured top laners was not among them, and Dhokla found himself teamless once more, wondering what direction to take his career in. But the thing about Dhokla that stayed true his entire career is his consistency. Whether in-game as an anchor to play through or around, or maybe in a spot where your org realizes you're actually going to need an emergency top laner because your off-season plans dramatically fell through, Dhokla was going to be there ready to answer the call. But the off-season came and went, and it just seemed unlikely that anything like that would ever happen. Until Lyon found themselves in one of the worst timelines with their brand new roster, after picking up the best player in the league and perhaps the best Western player overall, Inspired. Lyon were looking to make moves, but their top laner Zamudo, one of the most exciting North American prospects from the Tier 2 scene, was left in an unenviable situation, signed as a starter but unable to secure a visa to the US. And so, Lyon began the year with all these new pieces but no young star prospect top laner. In fact, they had no top laner at all. So who do you call when you need a last-minute laner? Who else but Dhokla? In once again less than ideal circumstances, Dhokla was signed to one of the most exciting LCS rosters assembled in recent memory, and Rumble Renekton Kassante'd his way through the league with rock-solid play while his team stars did what they do best. On a team like Lyon, Dhokla is always going to seem like a quieter player, someone who is a great role player, a balancing presence, and a reliable teammate, even when he starts the year with no team at all. It's funny that Dhokla has somehow been in this position so many times in his career, being called back to action in increasingly unbelievable circumstances, and seems to always find a way to make whoever he's with better. As Lyon continued to trounce through lock-in, Dhokla even started showing flashes of the carry play he's always been, doing something every top laner probably dreams of doing on the LCS stage, counterpicking someone with Vayne.
There, Dhokla firing on a yacht, they finds the kill, Lyon move forward, pouncing onto Team Liquid.
Dhokla's versatility now feels like an aspect of his play that's just as good as his reliability. And while it's hard to know just where Dhokla's playing career is going to go next, it's inspiring to see a player continue to grind their way back into the spotlight one game at a time. While the lock-in trophy might not be an LCS championship, with Lyon, Dhokla has become part of yet another winning team as they come into this split of the LCS as the de facto team to beat. I think it's easy to characterize a player like Dhokla as the top laner that could, but now he's simply the top laner that does. One lane at a time. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. The LCS YouTube channel is always bringing you bangers and you won't want to miss them. What other players from the LCS should we highlight? Is there another career or story you want us here to tell? Sound off with your suggestions in the comments below. Just don't ask me or Lyon what happened at first hand.